I think it was my birthday, and we'd gone out to dinner. Amir was what did Mariba call him? Demanding. Yes, Amir was demanding. So he cried. I felt like the whole time we were there. And then like when dinner hit the table, there's the whole, poop just all the way up the back. Somehow it goes from the diaper to just all the way up the back. And like the dinner had just hit the table. We were like, wrap it up. Just wrap it up. We're done.
Not too long ago, we did a talk about advice for new parents. And that's a good episode, but maybe we can dive a little bit into just our experience as new parents. Here's my first thought. We had dogs, and the dogs were several years old by the time the next baby came. And so they were like the children.
Yeah.
And so after Amir was born, I took in one of the blankets that he was wrapped in when he was at the hospital, and I brought it back to the house. I had to go walk the dogs anyway. I took the blanket and I gave it to both the dogs and let them smell it. And of course, they were like fully focused all the way, like, what is that new smell? Why are you just here by yourself? Where's everybody? And they're drilled in on the blanket. I take it for a walk, I feed them. And then when it's time to go back to the hospital, I left the blanket in the kennel with them. Mm-hmm. And then when I came back, they had like ripped it to shreds, which is concerning when I came back to the house. Like, I don't know how they're going to do with this dog thing, with this baby thing. They might not like this. But they tore it to shreds, literally.
They ripped it to shreds.
Yeah, so I don't know what the answer is for that particular thing. Like, it worked out. They adopted him as a litter mate.
They did. You should also say the dogs were boxers.
The dogs were boxers.
They were full grown at that point.
Yeah. When the baby first came home, the first thing we did, because the dogs were such a big part of our lives, was I took his socks off and then put him on the floor, and the dogs like licked the brown off his feet.
They literally did.
Yeah.
I think our son was born brown.
Yeah. And now he's super light skinned because the dog's enzymes and stuff took all the melanin out of his skin. He was also a very drooly baby. Mm-hmm. And you never had to worry about the drool getting too far, because if there was a dog around, the dog was coming for it.
Yep. He was going to catch it.
Right. So Donnie and Alicia have a dog.
Yeah.
He's a little dog, which is different. That's a different temperament.
You're right.
Little dogs are more likely to bite and be snippy. So, you have to watch that. But introduce the dog to the baby. The dog currently thinks he's a part of this very small family, and now the family is expanding, and he's got to feel part of the expansion.
Yeah.
What's another thing that you can think of that may be specific to our story that would be helpful to...
I remember when you used to tell me when I was pregnant that I should walk around at night.
That was genius.
It's
brilliant.
It was, but I didn't do it.
You didn't do it, and it's brilliant advice to this day.
Because I was exhausted.
Yes.
Like, I'm sure if other women had the ability to, maybe, possibly, but you're exhausted. You're exhausted. I was exhausted. So the idea of staying up at 2 and 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning, walking around so that the baby would be used to walking around at that time and actually sleep, that was just, I couldn't even fathom that. I think it's great advice, but I'm not quite sure how doable it is.
I want to explain it because I think it's still fantastic advice.
Okay.
And I want people to get the full access. Like, you might actually learn something and be able to do it. When do babies sleep? Newborn babies sleep most when?
During the day.
During the day. Meanwhile, that means they're going to be up
at night
when you're trying to sleep. And so your life is turned upside down.
Yes, it is.
So let's say that you're a person who works regular job. You work during the daytime most of the time, and you're pregnant. So all day long, you're walking. Mm-hmm. Baby's feeling this rocking all day long, which is satisfying and soothing, right? And then when you stop walking, you often notice, like when you lay down sometimes and you stop walking, you might feel more of the baby
movement.
stirring.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. So let's fast forward. Baby's born. On the baby's clock, he's been, for certain hours of the day, he's been coddled to sleep. And the other hours, he's wide awake at night because the moving is not happening. It's not the soothing thing anymore. Mm-hmm. But you can kind of steer which times a day that's going to happen. So it's an investment to say, hey, look, if I do status quo, that means I'm not going to get any sleep all night.
No.
I'm going to be up all night anyway.
At least every 2 hours.
At least every 2 hours because they got to eat.
Yeah.
Now, if you do it the way that I'm suggesting, then you possibly could sleep through the night. And then you have to feed the baby multiple times during the daytime, but you're already up and working or whatever. So it makes sense.
True, but if you're doing that, then you're not already up. Because at some point you have to sleep. So either I'm rocking him at night or I'm rocking him during the day. I can't do both.
Status quo right now says that anybody who just had a baby, if their baby's like a couple months old and now it's the middle of the day like it is right now, that baby sleep, and they're going to sleep longer during the day. They're going to sleep for longer stretches during the day than they will at night.
Longer and harder. Like, you cannot wake that baby up during the day.
Right.
But let night fall.
Right. That's my point. So I would rather have those long stretches at night. And here's another interesting story, super specific to us. Amir was born just before 9/11.
Yeah.
So when 9/11 hit, I had to go on 16-hour shifts at Ground Zero, which was crazy. So there was a strain there family wise. A year and a half later, not even a year and a half later, Michael's born, and I don't even remember what was happening, but I remember at some point when he was brand new, we went on shifts, you and I, so that we could sleep.
I remember that.
Yeah, the shift was like one of us would sleep from 8 at night till
midnight,
like 2 in the morning or something, which was a solid 6 hours.
Yep.
Then the other one would sleep from 2 in the morning until 8 in the morning.
Yeah.
And that was the deal.
Yeah.
And that worked for some amount of time.
It did work. I think we both just got to a point where we didn't want to go to sleep without each other. But we did do it for a while. I do remember that.
Yeah. It was nuts.
One person would be in the living room and one person would be in the bedroom.
Yeah, and that's because we had kids that were so close in age together, 15 months apart, and they were just different needs, different schedules.
We were terrified that Michael would wake up Amir.
And so there's another point. So when my boy AJ got married and started having babies, I clearly remember the conversation having with him saying that, hey man, you have this transition from just a couple to having a baby. And that's a huge transition life-wise.
Yeah.
Right? And then they had the second baby shortly after. And I remember talking to him, telling him, hey, it's not a big deal.
This one's easier.
Yeah, it's no big deal. It's the same deal.
Yeah.
But then when we had the third one, that was the conversation. It was, dude, okay, you just got outnumbered.
Yep, that was the thing. You get outnumbered.
Yeah. If you don't know what just happened, you just got outnumbered. That means that you can't cover everybody one-on-one. You got to go what we call zone defense. That was the deal. This is another ridiculous story. I clearly remember the day that I went to leave the house, and I don't know where you were, or you were asleep, or you were gone somewhere, but I realized I couldn't move on the same schedule that I was before. Like before, let's say I had to be somewhere that meant I had to leave at 1:30.
Yeah.
Leave the house at 1:30. Well, before I could probably like do whatever I wanted to do until 1:20 and then just go. But I remember like in that particular day that, like, let's say the 1:20 came and I was like, oh, he needs everything.
Yep.
He needs to be changed. He needs to be dressed. He needs to be fed.
That was Amir.
Yes.
It was because I had Demi. I had gone through that first baby already, right? This is your first time going through first baby.
Yeah.
So that first baby is a huge mountain. You don't realize I can't just go to the store anymore.
Right.
You realize, oh, wait a minute. I got to get me ready and I got to get you ready. I don't need to go to the store that bad.
But there's so much to getting a baby ready. Like when you're not in the mentality of doing it. Now, I guess once you get used to doing it, but from the perspective of a person who's never really done it for that individual, that 3-month-old or whatever, like they can't do anything.
No.
They can't do anything without you.
No.
So.
And you don't dare leave the house with just the kid. Like, you better bring a baby bag. So you've got to pack it. You've got to make sure they're clean and dressed and changed before you leave the house. And you got to make sure you have the baby bag. And don't leave with the baby bag without the stroller. Which then comes back to, you know what? I don't have to go that bad.
Yeah, it's crazy. Then there's another time I clearly remember being in Target. And this woman ended up in the same aisle I was in Target, and she had a baby, and the baby had pooped on itself, and it was funky.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
and I just understood.
Yes,
I was like,
you do.
I was like, I understand.
Yeah, And it's nothing you can do about it, especially if she's got a cart full of stuff already. What can you do? Like, do I leave the cart and go change them? Am I leaving the store very soon? Like, it's a lot. That reminds me of, I think it was my birthday, and we'd gone out to dinner, and Amir was
nursing.
Yes, Amir was nursing, and I don't think Brendan was born yet. I think Amir was nursing, and Amir was what did Mariba call him? Demanding. Yes, Amir was demanding. So I remember he cried. I felt like the whole time we were there. And then like when dinner hit the table, there's the whole, poop just all the way up the back. Somehow it goes from the diaper to just all the way up the back. And like the dinner had just hit the table. We were like, wrap it up. Just wrap it up. We're done.
Yeah. Kind of back to the lady in Target. Like any other time, I'd be self-concerned. Like, man, why is somebody in here stinking like this?
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, what is she supposed to do?
Right.
I actually felt sorry for the baby because you got poop on the baby. You know how some babies get rashes and they're real sensitive to that. So I was like, instead of feeling sorry for myself, like having to smell this poop, it was like, oh, poor baby. Somebody get this kid some wipes.
It's that, but you also feel for her because you understand. I get it. I understand.
Yeah.
I can't say anything bad.
That's an interesting thing that we have to tackle as a society is normalizing the things that come with babies. Like breastfeeding is still a thing that people shun.
Yeah.
And it's the most natural thing in the world.
Yeah.
Is there enough accommodation made for the most natural thing in the world? And the same thing with baby poop. Like, dude, baby's gonna poop.
Right.
Let's say you want these mothers, this whole segment of the population, as your customer in your store. What accommodations are made for the woman or dad who's in the store with a full basket and kid poops? Those are the kind of problems we should be solving because it just increases inclusivity in the customer base, and it makes the most sense in the world.
Yeah. It's funny when you hear someone say either I'm going to get married or we're going to have a baby. In the position that we're in now, it's not the, oh my God, I'm so happy for you. It's the first thought that you have is, ooh, this is going to be a doozy. But congratulations. And let's have a conversation. Because I feel like as we got older, the generations before us would just say, congratulations, we're happy for you, yada, yada, yada. But I feel like our generation, I know I am extremely vocal about it. Our generations are much more, okay, that's great. Let's have a conversation. Because while it's nice, there's a whole lot of work that you have no idea that you're headed towards. And maybe the generations in front of us felt like, I'm not trying to rain on your parade or I don't want to scare you. We're not trying to scare you. But sometimes I feel like you need to know, like good or bad, rain or shine, you need to know what you're headed towards. Yeah. I can't make this look like a pretty penny. It just is what it is. And it's going to be hard.
Yeah, it can be challenging, which is why I think family is so important. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. There's millions and millions of people that have gone through this very thing and best practices are known. There's family best practices, and then there's like medical best practices.
Yeah.
And that stuff is all very available on the internet. So that would be super helpful. And I would say that's key. Like never be afraid to ask and definitely take advantage of the sources.
Yeah. And definitely talk to people. It's not just not easy, it's hard. And I remember looking at videos of us as a young family and just noticing I look like I'm always exhausted. And I don't remember that feeling. And watching myself, I'm like, clearly they were wearing me out. I just think that hopefully mothers are, especially young mothers, are vocal about what's going on. Definitely don't keep that in. And I think the more vocal you are about either struggles you're having or it's just hard and I'm tired, other women will share the same stories and you don't feel like, everything's fine. I'm juggling all the plates. Everything's going well. Like, no, it's not. And it's okay to say that.
Yeah.
My friends had babies the same time I did, which wasn't planned, but it was a godsend because we were able to, sometimes commiserate with each other. Like, I'm exhausted. I ain't got it. Whatever I need, I ain't got it. I'm tired. So being highly communicative is important.
Yep. And then there's the issue of culture change, which I've heard before. A friend of mine, Jada, who was on one of my previous podcasts, the Super Fantastic Show. I don't want this to get anybody in trouble, but she would talk about how there was a difference in culture between parenting according to her family and parenting according to the women in her husband's family. And they were living at the time in the city where her husband's family was. And so, that was a bit of a friction. I want to nurse, and they are anti-nursing. They think it's inconvenient and disgusting,
Wow.
And it's like, yeah, but that's not how I feel about it, and that's not what the science says.
And it's my kid.
Yeah.
So,
but that's a crazy part of the statement too, is that we all feel ownership of babies that join the family. All of us.
True. But, reality, it comes down to who does that baby, I get it. But at the end of the day, the baby belongs to the mother and father, and whatever they decide is what goes and should be across the board accepted. And if it's not accepted, don't come over.
Yeah, I don't like that idea. I think a more holistic approach is my default. And I'm only saying that because, eventually, if we're blessed, we're going to have grandkids. And I don't think that I'm in the driver's seat, but I want us all to be family.
True. And you can be, from my opinion, you can be. But, okay, so let's say it's Amir and a nice person. How she wants to raise her kids, I realize it would be our grandchild as well. It's just, I've had my chance to be a mother. We can advise, we can say, hey, this is what we did. But if she chooses to do something different, that's on her. And I can't impose my will and my wants on her child.
No, I agree. All that means is further expanding the radius of this holistic thinking that I'm talking about is, well, that's more reason to be having those conversations early and in advance. Like, it's better, in my mind, in that case, to be having a long relationship with someone who then has a relationship with your family. That you guys have discussions like that in advance, so I think far too often a lot of stuff happens accidentally or last minute or without thought and without discussion. So like every generation is reinventing problems and solutions instead of benefiting at least from having conversations like this.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean even like you have to know you're going to be with that person, but just the discourse should be happening more widely. Families at the forefront. Everybody who's ever accepted any kind of award, that's the first thing. This is my Lord and Savior and my family. Mama, you the real MVP. Right? Okay, great. Then let's have, if that's really what you're going to say in those great moments, then you should be saying it all the time. Like, what does family mean? How do we practice family?
Yeah.
And what are the values that we share?
You also have to see that family isn't just our parents. It extends. They've got sisters and brothers. They've got nephews and nieces. Like, there's no real line that you draw for family. So when it comes to the intake of their opinions, it could be nonstop.
Yeah.
So you have to decide how you and your partner want to raise this child. And, hey, I'm willing to listen. But end of the day, if this is what he and I decide, then this is what he and I are going to do. And it's okay if you don't like it,
right,
but don't try to change it.
I got it.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be adversarial. It just moves my thinking, that being the case, and you being right in that. Where are we as a society really having family discussions? So we're having this greater discussion with greater connectivity with the world on ideas, especially entertainment related or current events related. And I think that it would be a really powerful tool to also be able to do that internally in families, is have greater discussions about family topics. Maybe people are doing it all the time, but maybe I'm not. I don't know. We'll see.
Give me a family topic.
What do you think about nursing? What do you think about why somebody should go to a college versus a different college?
It's funny that you mentioned that, because while I see the merit in having the conversation, you also have to acknowledge that times have changed. While the opinion is valid for as long as it is, as the times go by and as years go by, that could change.
I just think teenagers and younger need to be informed and have access to the family perspective. We've gone way off topic.
Totally.
Which is fantastic, though.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to getting some feedback on this if anybody has made it this far in the discussion.